Hello and welcome to STF Wargaming Studio. I'm Weil and today I have a new kind of video for you. I am doing an interview with Joe Saleh from Lucid Eye Publications, and we are going to talk about their new game that's coming up, the Red Book of the Elf King, and also we'll touch on a couple of other of their ranges, and it will be an audio interview. So it's an audio only, but I will throw in a couple of pictures I've gotten from Joe, and you'll see the miniatures and some artwork for the upcoming game. So sit back, enjoy, find some miniatures, start painting, and just listen. So welcome, Joe. It's a pleasure to have you on the channel. Could you just start by introducing yourself and talk a little bit about the Lucid Eye Publications?
Of course, thanks for having me on. Essentially, Lucid Eye Publications is a miniatures-based company with games, and what we're currently doing is we're working on a few projects, namely the Red Book of the Elf King. The Red Book of the Elf King is a tabletop skirmish game based in sort of a Fey Revanche setting, which is an elf civil war. The circles that consist evolve around 6 Fanes and their companions, which naturally are coming out now for Lucid Eye Publications, and we will have a game very soon written by Rick Priestley. So that's sort of where we're at currently, all. In relation to developments and whatnot, that is taking precedence for our projects. However, we do also have 4 other lines, that being Savage Core, The Plot Device, Treasures from the Cosmic Vault, and The Beast of Birchwood. So there are product lines currently.
You have a very unique feel to all of your miniatures. As the plot device, the tagline says "Citizens of a far out dimension," and I really think you capture that in the miniatures. That you have some really cool things going there.
Yeah, cheers. So essentially what we're doing is we use these ranges as a means for my father, who does the sculpting, to actually do essentially what he wants. They've got enough difference in them as their own entities to be able to provide that. So for example, with the plot device, we're looking at sort of an alternate history based game. We're looking to go in a little bit of a different direction with the classic miniatures tabletop rules for the plot device, which will be revealed soon. We're looking to have more of a hybrid system, but we haven't really got to that point yet. What we like to do, is we bring out the miniatures lines themselves and then provide supplements. But yes, they're very flavorful in that regard, and we rely heavily on the narrative and the setting because we think the IP needs to be strong. It needs to be, the quintessential part of the game itself, really. So we try and really grasp that in the miniatures themselves, having their own feel and their own style. And that's what we want to do, because there's no need to add to the dross, essentially, because there's a lot of stuff out there. So you need to really, accelerate in different directions in that regard.
Yeah, I think you do that very well. So, of course, we are today going to focus on the Elf King.
Sure.
Red Book of the Elf King, which is the full title. So it's a new game written by Rick Priestley, and you have already starting to release the miniatures lines, as you've mentioned. But could you just tell us a little bit about the story of the setting of the Elf King?
Of course I can. Yeah, so as you were saying, we've started to release the miniatures themselves. The Red Book of the Elf King, the game system itself, is written by Rick Priestley, absolutely fantastic man, and we've had really clicks in the process, and it's gone phenomenally well, I believe. The narrative setting itself was something me and my dad initially coined in relation to a host of influences and a setting that revolves around a Fey civil war, sort of an elf civil war. The disappearance of Elim, the Elf King, the original sort of ruler of Ys itself, has disappeared in sort of a sickness of melancholy and gone into the outworlds, as they're called, sort of the immaterial planes. In the meantime, what's happening is these circles, these family circles, have uprooted themselves, and with their sort of loyal host of companions, have aided an elf civil war in which these Fanes from hailing from different regions of East, different islands of East, are in full flux with a civil war and trying to maintain and grasp control, which eventually will lead to the fall of all. So it's fairly nihilistic in that regard, but that's the whole sort of narrative of the setting. In the grand sense of things are.
Yeah. So these are sort of powerful elves. They are not just mere mortals,
Sure.
in a sense.
Yeah, we're really trying to grasp the fact that, elves aren't humans with pointy ears. They don't replicate 21st century culture, nor any culture for that matter. Their culture and as an entity, they're beyond mortal comprehension. So we wanted to portray that in the figures. They're demigods essentially. They're 7-foot beings. They're immortal beings, and the point we wanted to grasp was we wanted to hark back to that mythology. It's sort of, it's Teutonic to a point. It's got Celtic elements. It's got fantasy elements, but it's heavily rooted in that idea of myth. And we wanted to deal with that rather than anything else, because that's, we stem from that, and that's what we wanted to address with the Elf King. And especially in the designs and the miniatures, we wanted to portray that. We didn't want to make humans with pointy ears. They're not. They're beyond mortal comprehension, and the idea of them being is, they're demigods, and we wanted to get that in the armament, the way their pose, their sort of stoicness, and just how they are as miniatures. And we believe we've captured that, and that's sort of what we wanted to do with it, really.
Yeah, I'm looking at the miniatures now, and let's start with the companions. They are very they look very imposing, and they have, as you say, a very unique feel to them. There are elements that we can see, like historical elements in there, but also a lot of fantasy, esque feel to them, really. Yeah, it's you haven't mentioned his name, but it's Steve Saleh.
Yeah, that's my dad, Steve Saleh. Yes,
and he's a quite prolific sculptor. He's done quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around. He's been sculpting for quite some time now, and this is, taking the brakes off of the guy. Essentially, he's going in a direction where, we've always wanted to go, and he's got the capacity to do so. And when a creative, I believe, does that, it allows them to, give their best work and create their best work. So I believe that's what we're seeing, and I believe that's what we'll continue to see with projects that we enjoy and we want to do and we want to expand in, essentially. So yeah, he's got a big body of work. If anyone's has or collected, as I'm sure they will with your viewership or audience, 28mm, they'll probably contain, they'll probably have some of the guys sculpt. So yeah, he's got a body of work behind him, and I believe thoroughly that this is his best stuff, and we'll see his best stuff from now on.
Yeah, and I think he has done a really good job on these. And you have currently, there's 5 packs released.
Sure. Yes.
For the companions.
Yes. So we've got 5 packs of companions currently. There will be 6 packs that will form a circle, a warband as such, given that there's a Fane in 6 packs. The beauty of the companions as such is once you've collected your 6 packs of companions and painted them up, you can switch a Fane in and out, because the companions are the war, they contain the bulk of the warband, because it's an elf civil war. So these elves have divided themselves into families and whatnot in kins. So the idea being is once you have these packs of companions, you can place different circles with a different Fane. However, naturally, you might want to paint some as tartan, based. You might want to, have a more brassy, color scheme for them. You might want to do what you want. So, you can collect as much companions as you want, realistically. You can go as far as you want to go, but we've kept that buy-in essentially at a very feasible level, and we've developed a way so that people can, play different circles and whatnot with their warband of companions. Initially,
because all the companions are they are individual, and they have their own all the packs, they have some similarities in the pack, and then there are also elements that goes through and binds the whole range
Yes.
together. I think it looks really good. And then we have the Thanes. So we have 6 different Thanes. Is that
Yeah,
right?
definitely. So we have 6 different Fanes. I can go into detail in relation to the Fanes themselves. So we have Vishel Goldenhand, who is hailing from the Throne of Towers, which is the most sort of aggressive and melee-based Fane itself. I'm just talking in the grand sense and sort of archetypal tropes for each of the Fanes. We've got Salient Trollblood, who is, has a niche, as it were. He contains troll knowledge, which makes him sort of fearful and whatnot, and he's fairly in tune with rude magic, which is sort of the low elemental magic based stuff, and he has a fair glamour rating, which means he can cast fairly strong glamours. The glamour system's probably important to note now for anyone listening. They essentially will be a card deck. You don't have to buy the card deck, but naturally it would be very helpful and it will look very nice. Essentially, there'll be cards and glamours. You pick 7 at the start of the game, so you can sort of coin around your circle, as it were. That's where the shopping list aspect of the game comes in. But there's 2 Fanes there. Then we go to Loic, the Hero of the Arcana. Now, Loic, the Hero of the Arcana, is the most feral of the elven kind, and he was picked by the Stone Sisters, as it were, to be the hero of the Arcana. And that Fane is sort of reluctant, given he's the most primal of the Fanes, but he's coming to the forefront of the Elf Civil War. We've then got Aurelia of the Long Isles. Aurelia, she travelled to Hell and lost her shadow in the process, and came back from the Furore on Fur. So her and her circle are sort of more fleet based, given they're sort of sea elves in that regard. We've got, going on from that, we've got 2 unreleased Fanes, and these unreleased Fanes are Aloysian of the Marshes, who is sort of a path traveller, an individual who is in tune with the cosmic pathways of Ys itself. Then we've also got Mexant Farseer. Now, Mexant is a Thane who is entrenched in glamours and rude magic, and has knowledge from the Red Book itself. So the most insightful of the Fanes, as it were. So they're the 6 Fanes, which are very strong in their own right, and they provide 6 circles essentially for the companions.
Yeah, and just from you telling us about the Thanes, you can really see Golden Hand, how his prowess is melee combat, with the pose raising his sword, and he looks really powerful. Not someone I'd want to get into hand-to-hand combat with. And is the Salient Trollblood? Yeah, I can see he has. There are something a bit shifty with his character.
Definitely, yeah.
And he and his, I think, I can understand that he's a powerful magic user.
Yeah.
And as well, Loic, he's a barbarian.
yeah, essentially an elf barbarian, essentially.
Yeah. Also, Aurelia with the flowing dress looks really, really good, and you've captured the essence and the story of each of these things in the miniature is really, really good.
Definitely, that was the idea. Yes, definitely, you're completely right.
That is very, very nice. Okay, so we covered a bit about the story. We've talked about the figures. So I have had the opportunity to look through the rules as they are now, and the game looks, just from reading it, I haven't had the chance to play any games yet, but it looks to be very simple in a not clunky way.
Yes, definitely.
It's not a simple game, but it's an easy and elegant system, with good mechanics that gives you gives you what you want in the game, with also some unique touches. So quickly, it goes. You play on a 4x4 table.
Yes, I believe that's what Rick's put in as the recommended table size.
Yeah.
Naturally, you can play on smaller. It's given its tabletop game. It's these are recommended to a point. So
yeah, as I was thinking, well, you have such small amounts of miniatures. Why don't play it on a 3x3? But these are elves. These are 7 foot. These guys are tall. They have long legs. They walk like in regular games, or not regular games, but in other games, you usually have like a movement of 6 inches. But these guys move up to 10 inches.
Yes.
So then playing on a 4x4 makes a lot more sense. So you can get around the table a lot faster than you'd norm in compared to other games.
Yeah.
So I think that's nice touches. And then you have random draw for activations.
Yes. That sort of plays into the hands of the system, I believe, being more elegant, and that's something Rick brought in to the game itself, which I personally thought worked really well. And the beauty of that in the system, having random draw activation, whereby it's not an I go you go system, makes the game, once you understand it and it's quick to grasp, you'll be able to grasp it. It flows very nicely and very fast, and you can sort of be able to grasp the game quickly in that regard. And once you've got your head around the system, like I'm not sure naturally, as a gamer, it took me, because I was new to the system. I was new to sort of the chit draw stuff that Rick proposed. So I was like, oh, you go, I go, and you sort of, and then you shake out of it and you're like, wow, this is better, essentially. And it's, no, it makes the game very mercurial in that regard. And once you get the glamours going and the magic flowing and, the movement and the activation, it flows really nicely.
Yes, absolutely. I've it's not too long ago I played my first game with the random activation, and I was this is a very good mechanic to have in a miniature game. Makes you more involved in the game, so that's very good. And then and each unit can be activated up to 3 times without penalties, so you can keep on moving one unit.
You have to you have to activate all your units before you get back to your unit. So essentially what that does is, if you get a good turn and you have a lot of chits, basically activation tokens, because you roll with your initiation dice at the start, and one player might end up with less, one player might end up with more. So naturally, if you get a good draw, you might be able to, even with a lot of units that start saying, go through your units and reactivate them. That might mean, you move your Feign up and you go through all your units, you fire some rude magic, and then you activate a glamour for your Feign because, you've been through him. So essentially that activation is great, because what it does, it really provides a level of complexity to the game whereby you have to essentially plan and be reactive around what your opponent's doing, but then also have some idea of longevity in relation to your aim. But, everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face. And essentially that's what, that's what, I think that was Mike Tyson who said, that's what, happens in the game. You get punched in the face, so you have to react to what's going on.
And if we weren't clear on it, the forces is each side has 6 units of 3 companions each, and then the Thane. So you have equal forces, but as you say, the glamour system is where the how you put together your glamour spells is that's where the force building in this game comes in.
Definitely. That's where the shopping list aspect, because it doesn't work with a point system. It works on a minimum unit requirement, whereby both players are going to start with a Feign and 6 practically 6x3 companions. Now, the beauty in that regard is that you can have a lot of players on the board. You can even play, 2v2, 1v1, mixed and whatnot. It's scalable in that regard, definitely. Now, like you were saying and I was saying prior, the shopping list comes in the glamour system. Now, what this means is, given that your Fanes have different casting abilities and your circles themselves have different abilities, everyone's companions act differently. Whereby you be a really circle, and your companions are more sort of swashbuckling in their nature, being able to sort of negate an extra hit or whatnot. Now, what you would do naturally with these, we've got over 55. You believe it's over 55 glamours, which are spell cards. Now, you only take 7 with you into a game. Now, that provides a huge amount of variety in relation to what you want to do. And you might want to build your circle around a specific playstyle, or you might want to, try and build it around countering a certain circle, or just build, a generic base spell list, which is situational. Now, it all comes down to that sort of glamour list and what you want to try and implement in your game and who you're playing. So like we just noted, the points-based system is more coming from a shopping list of what spells you want to take into the game, what circle you want to play with, essentially.
And so for dice mechanics, you use a d6, but you also use d10.
Yes.
It's 10-sided dice in the game. That is not something I'm used to. It's coming more and more in miniature games, but it gives you a bit more of a range on the
yes.
stats. It gives you a bit more playroom. So, is there any? Or I'm guessing that might be part of why the D10 is chosen.
Yeah, so we like the D10. It's quite elegant, we believe. We used it in Savage Core initially, and we, I guess had a chat with Rick about it, and we were in agreement in relation to the D10. The D6s are used as initiation dice. What they do is essentially at the start of the turn, it acknowledges how much chits you have. Meaning, if I roll a d6 and I get a 5, you roll a d6 and you get a 4, then we have sort of like a 1 swing dice which stops swing. So you roll a 3, it's 4 plus 3, so 5, 6, 7. I get 7 chits and you get 5 plus 3, which is 6, 7, 8 chits. So that middle dice stops, massive swing, as it were, between getting chits at the start of the game. It still can be swingy, which is nice. There is a luck element, but that sort of negates any massive drastic swing repeatedly. Now, the D10s, what they are is it's a roll under system. So essentially with D10s, if you're better at attacking, if you're better at casting rude magic, if you're a courageous Fane, as it were, you will have a higher stat, which means you are more likely to roll under the stat, which means you succeed and pass. That's how basically the D10 system is implemented in this game. It's a roll under system rather than as Savage Core was previously, it was a sort of multiplication system where you roll a D10 and plus your stat. Here, it's your stat acts as a framework to roll under it, which is a bit cleaner.
Yep. Yeah, I think that is. It's again simple.
Yeah.
But not simple.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. It works.
Yeah, we had a chat with Rick about this initially, and we were sort of talking about stuff, and we wanted the system, elegant and clean, and this is what Rick devised from it, it was fantastic, and it was great, and it plays really nicely, and it's really elegant and clean, and that's what we were going for, because a game can be played with the bare minimum, in an hour. Once you know the system, it can be a fast game, and that's fun, or it can be long. Naturally, you have more units, and it can be more of a big war game experience. But we want we want it to be clean. We like clean, and we like fun. Things have to be fun, or there's no point. That's how I see things, basically.
Yeah, and I think clean is a better word than simple. Simple, I say.
Either way, it's
Yeah,
synonymous.
I get the feeling that it's very as you say, it's clean and elegant system. Yeah, so you got just cover a bit about the stats. There's a movement stats, and then that tells you how many inches you can move. There's attack, that tells you how many dice you use for the attack and what number you need to roll for the target number. And then it's the same for range. And then there's defense.
Yes, there's a sort of a block. So essentially, it's fairly RPG based in that system. You move your companions up, you go into attack, you might charge, you might get buff, which means you've got more to roll under with. You succeed, you get free attacks with your companions. They fail their defense saves on 2 of them, they go through. You score a wound, but obviously naturally because you're in melee combat, they will attack back. So it's sort of you roll for your companions independently to see which attacks you score and whatnot. And then naturally with rude magic, you might fire a few magic, missiles essentially at an opposing advancing unit of companions that might, they might fail their courage test, they might be pinned for a turn, which acts as an activation chit. I think that's important to note. So if a unit or a Thane himself or herself fails a courage test, they will be count as an activation chip for that turn, which is quite cool because naturally, if you're not great at melee combat, for example, you might want to just try and pin a unit who's advancing on your Thane. So you might try and chuck some rude magic at them. They might fail their courage test and naturally they're stuck for that turn, so they can no longer advance. So you can use, rude magic. It was important to make both systems viable because the worst thing in a tabletop game is people running into the middle of the map and just smacking each other. There needs to be incentive to do both, move out, use some rude magic, move in and whatnot. So we really got that. And with the slight tilt in the stats between the companions and whatnot, there are ways which are more formidable to play with certain circles, essentially.
Yeah. Now, I think that is a very interesting mechanic, and it also makes sense. You being in a battle, and you take a hit, your courage falters, you'll just stop and try to collect yourself before you act again. And we have talked about we have a little cheat sheet with points we want to talk about. We've already covered the glamours a lot, and I think that will be because they have very unique, very different. As you said, there was about 50 glamours. They have very different effects in the game.
Yes.
What they do. I think that will be very interesting for people to have a play with and try to. You can do a lot of planning or mind games before you play the game, and to find what sort of playstyle do you want to use, which glamours do you want to put in your deck.
I mean, just going on that point, I think it's important to say also that, the learning curve is, it's easy to grasp the game, but there is a level of complexity when you are playing, an individual whereby you have both coined your glamours to what you want to do. And there is that, because of the expansive nature of the glamours and the spell system, there is never going to be a be-all, end-all formula in that regard. So there is that choice and that sort of level of complexity, which will, you'll be there for, what shall I use this time? Shall I use that? Shall I, use a new circle? Shall I try that circle with that set of glamours? Is this Thane's ability? Do they synergize with these glamours? Should I do that first? There is all that level of complexity, and we wanted to keep the entry level, you're in, how to play it at a very base level, which is great. And then you've got, these added complexities, these wrinkles that you can delve into with the playstyles and whatnot and the glamour system.
Mm. And there is also a lot of narrative and flavor in the glamours as well. With all you can really tell what the glamour is, and how you how you can imagine
Yeah,
it working
yeah,
on the battlefield in the game. And you also have stuff that helps you in melee,
yeah.
like the Troll's Cleave. You really you see your Thane. It's like filled with
Yeah,
power to do a melee attack. Um, and there's a lot of cool, like more spells,
sure.
like like visual
Yeah.
magic, Earth Grip, Cosmic Eye. There's so a lot of cool flavor in these.
Yeah, so we originally, when we were
Yeah.
talking to Rick, just um, sent him a list of spell names with narrative
Mm.
about the spell and the effects, and the guy just went away and formulated them into mechanics essentially, and that's what we've got now. So there's still a heavy sense of narrative in relation to the spells and whatnot, because that's what we wanted to achieve with the spells. So yeah, it's got all that going for it in that regard. The and obviously, mechanically based, there are stuff which is there are spells even which you can take in, which are low. For someone like Vishel, he's not. His companions even have an ability where they resent and despise rude magic to the point where it doesn't pin them; they just shake it off if they're attacked by rude magic.
Mm.
But then the sort of catch-22 of the situations, then they're not good at casting rude magic. They're the poorest circle in relation to that, but they're the most violent and aggressive circle. So naturally, the spells Vishel might want to take, glamours, a low level just buffs. He might, want to try and get a wound back. He might want to, cleave. You might want to have multiple attacks. You might want to use a teleportation based spell, like a low casting glamour selection rather than, trying to synergize his glamours. Maybe someone like Mexan Farset, who is more attuned to the Fae as such, would take high level ones, and there are certain glamours that only Mexan can cast. I believe there one or two. There might be. So we've coined it around the Fanes as well. The glamour system has been devised specifically for the selection of Fanes. We've taken in, Rick's taken on board what Fanes can do what, and he's devised a system which is inherently great in that regard. It's based around the Fanes.
Mm. Yeah, I really get that. Really get the feeling of that when reading the rules. Yeah, and the last point for the game chat is scenarios,
Sure.
because I think scenarios are quite important in a game, instead of just a pitch battle and just fight until
Definitely.
you've killed your opponent. It's that is okay to learn the game, but
You want an objective. You want
you
an
need a bit
overarching
more.
objective.
Yeah,
Especially
absolutely.
when you've played the game, you understand the game. You've tried a lot of glam accommodations. You're sort of coining them. You're playing people, and when you want that added level of objective to the game, what we've devised is essentially what Rick's done is weird meetings. Now, originally, what we said to Rick again was, there's narrative. We just said there's some narrative for the weird meetings, and he devised some brilliant mechanics for them. That being my favourite one itself is Elim the Elf King, the weird meeting, whereby this sort of spectral appearance of Elim comes into the material world. And there will be a miniature for this, I think it's important to add. We're going to do the Elf King himself, in all his radiant glory as a miniature devised around this weird meeting whereby he's chaotic. So with the chip pool system, when you pull his chit, he's allocated a certain number of chits in the game. He comes onto the board and you pull his chit, and the individual who pulls, their chit, I believe, after controls the Elf King for that turn. So you've got this sort of chaotic, haze ripping about in the middle of the battlefield as such, who no one can control. And that plays heavily into the narrative of the Elf King himself, but also it's devised in a mechanic sense. So it's, that's essentially what we're trying to do with the weird meetings. We're trying to make them special, and heavily involved in the narrative, sort of in a timeline aspect, whereby you're playing an event on a timeline, and you're using weird meetings to fulfill that essentially.
Yeah, and also included in the scenarios is a lot of narrative text, which really tells you what this is. And I really appreciate that in the scenarios. So the Elf King sounds very very cool. Is the Elf King the artwork on
No,
the website?
the artwork. I mean, I think it's important to promote the guy because he's absolutely phenomenal. I believe the artwork was done by Julian. I'm not sure how to pronounce Delvan. I believe it's Delvan. Phenomenal artist, and what we said to him was basically he had a look at the minis, and he just. This is the thing about artists and creatives and stuff. We gave him free reign in that regard. Just said want to do an elf in this sort of Art Nouveau based style, and his style is absolutely phenomenal. He just came back and it was his first draft of the thing, and he just did a little rough draft of it, and we said, well, that's phenomenal, Julian, and he did pencils and then just went straight to color, and I was blown away. I think he's a phenomenal artist, and we're working with him currently to do some badges, some the house logos, house symbols as they were for each of the circles. And we love his style because that's thematically the game is based in that sort of European-esque, it's got all that Art Nouveau flavor, and he just went away and did some phenomenal artwork. It's no elf in particular. I would gather it's we talked about having the sundial, which is sort of more symbolic, but it's a companion, as it were, with elements of its own stuff.
Oh yeah,
Chipped in.
Yeah, it looks really, really good. It really does. So will you have more artwork in the book?
Yeah, we're looking at doing more artwork. We're talking to Julian currently, so we'll likely reveal some more bits of art and whatnot as time goes on.
Very, very cool. So moving forward, then, when do you see? What are your plans for when the book?
Sure. So essentially, what we want to do, Ol, is I think it might be important to note at this point we're working with it's table in Sweden based, isn't it, Ol? Tabletop.
Sorry. Tabletop Battle is.
Yeah. Sorry, Norway. My fault completely. So basically, we're working with Tabletop Battle for the guys, in Norway and whatnot. And what we're going to do with that is we're doing sort of a pre-order system whereby we're offering the deals that we can provide in the UK, that Lucid Eye Publications can provide in the UK, to Norway through Tabletop Battle. So what we're going to do is we're going to have essentially a pre-order period whereby we'll comprise these deals, with the miniatures themselves, with the book, with the cards, with what you want from the range, essentially. So we're going to offer that to Tabletop as well for them to have. So we're looking, to be honest, around next month to get that kicked off, to get that pre-order period kicked off where you can actually get what you want. And then on release, we can send it out to you guys.
So it will be up on tabletopbattle.no for pre-order. So sometime starting
yes, we're
in
looking
April.
to, unless anything changes, I'm looking personally to have everything devised by April. But naturally, if you follow our Facebook page, Lucid Eye Publications, I believe, or is it Lucid Eye Miniatures? I'm not even sure. Lucid Eye, just punch it in. We'll have updates there, and naturally, we'll be able to update, when that's actually available for any guys and girls in Norway.
Yeah, so it's just Lucid Eye.
Yeah, thank you, because I didn't even know.
And for we have listeners, or I say listeners, we usually have viewers. So this
Yeah.
is our first, like, mostly audio based thing we're doing. But Lucid Eye
Yeah.
Publications.com is your site, so you can also get the miniatures already that has been released
Yeah.
on there, and you ship all over the world.
We do
I
worldwide
believe.
shipping, and essentially we release stuff. We don't hold anything back naturally. So when it's up, and you can purchase it. And for the guys the guys and gals in Europe, we'll have it up on tabletop as well. So yeah, there's there'll be a range of providers in which you'll be able to get your release from and play the Elf King and whatnot.
Very, very cool. So April, we have a lot to look forward to. Are you going to have the 6th companion pack and the last two Thanes?
Yes,
released by then.
we want to have the everything we don't want to release the book with bits missing. We want to release the miniatures and then release the game itself, so you can buy in and get what Thane you want, essentially, and play as the circle you want to play as. So that's what we're doing. We're getting the miniatures there, so then we can arrange them into packages and whatnot. And for the people who want to get into the game itself, we're going to have a variety of options so you can do so. And naturally that will be hosted for anyone in Europe on tabletop, and obviously you can get it from us direct also.
Very good. Is there anything else you'd like to mention? Where you can find out more about Lucid Eye,
if you follow our page on Facebook, Lucid Eye, and check back on our website, we release a lot of stuff. We as soon as it's there, we release it. So blink and you might miss it in that regard. If you check our website, www.lucideyepublications.com, you'll be able to find all our stuff there, and there's a new release section. So check back regularly, essentially. So yeah, that's the best. We've sign on to our mailing list as well on the site, and you won't miss anything.
I'll put a link in to your site in the description below as well. You also have the Red Book of the Elf King Facebook group if you want to find out more about the game and discuss it with all the
that's
people in there.
To know, actually, thanks for that. Yes, the Facebook group, the Red Book of the Elf King, which is available from our page itself. Any questions about the game, anything you want to talk about with other people who are in the group, drop a message. We're all friendly, and we don't bite, and we can have a chat about anything. And Rick's in there as well, so any questions, just feel free to pop in and ask.
I know you have almost daily releases.
We had this chat the other day,
at least weekly release. Yeah. So a lot of interesting stuff coming from you guys. I'm looking forward to actually playing the game and having. We will put it on camera for the channel, of course, and show it to all our viewers, because that will not be audio only. That would be a very boring battle report.
Hopefully not.
So thanks, Joe, for coming on to have this chat, and good luck with the release of the game. I'm looking forward to
sure. Thank you so much for having me, and thanks to anyone who listened. I hope you enjoyed yourselves, and make sure to follow us both. Cheers.
So that was the interview with Joe. Thank you, Joe, for coming on. It was great talking to you. I hope you guys have enjoyed the chat as well. And if you want to check them out, head there to their site, following the link in the description below. And as we mentioned, the game, the Red Book of the Elf King, will be available to pre-order sometime in April from Tabletop Battle. as well as from Lucid Eye Publication themselves. I hope you have enjoyed that, and as always, please comment, like, share and subscribe, and please consider supporting us on Patreon, and if you already do, thank you very much, and it allows us to keep the lights going. Until next time, support your hobby.